In Spring Security, while configuring security for our endpoint URLs or paths, we use previously Ant matches. So Ant matches is a method which will help you to exactly look for this end path and try to secure it based upon the configurations that we have done, like has role, authenticated, or permit all, or deny all, whatever your requirement. But beyond AND matches, we also have other matches in Spring Security. Let's try to go and understand what are other matches available and in what scenarios we should use them. Basically, Spring Security offers three important types of matches. One is MVC matches, the second one is AND matches, and the last one is a regex matches. So AND matches and MVC matches are very similar with a very important difference that we can discuss in the few minutes. MVC matcher uses Spring MVC's handler mapping introspector to match the path and the extract variables. When we are dealing with MVC matches, we have two methods. You can apply security based upon a pattern and a HTTP method as well. If you are passing a method and a pattern, that means you want to apply security based upon two parameters. One is your HTTP method and the pattern matching. Whereas if you don't have any restrictions based upon HTTP method, which means only path has to be restricted and I'm not worried about what our HTTP method is being called. For such scenarios, we'll use the second method, which is MVC matches. You can see the examples. For the first one, MVC matches, I am mentioning the path example for the method post has to be authenticated, whereas if it is a HTTP method get, there should not be any authentication involved. It should be permit all. Beyond these two configuration, any request that comes, I have to deny all of them. So it's clearly making sense. For the first one, someone is calling my example API path with a post request, which means they want to add or update some data. I want them to be authenticated. Whereas if they're just calling with a get request, which means they just want to read the data, in such scenario, I will use permit all. Similarly, if you have a simple requirement where any web API path which matches with profile slash edit slash afterward, whatever is there in the path, I want that blindly authenticate or protect it. You may have hundreds of paths like profile slash edit slash 1, 2, 3, or it can be anything. In such scenarios, we don't have to configure for each and every URL inside our Spring Security. We can leverage these patterns, and whenever you are using 2 stars, that indicates any number of paths after that path that you have defined. For example, if I mention x slash 2 stars slash z, which means between x and z there can be any number of paths. So both XYZ and XYABC slash Z also will be treated it as a same configuration. Whereas if you use single asterisk mark, that indicates it will allow exactly one path between them or after it. For example, if I say X slash star Z, it will exactly match XYZ but not XYABCZ because ABC is an extra path in here. So that's the difference between single and double asterisks. So please make sure that you are using them properly. Similar to MVC matches, we also have AND matches and we are using it in our code also. The method that we are using in our code is the second method, which is AND matches with a pattern. Similar to MVC matches also, AND matches have methods which will accept both HTTP method and a pattern. But compared to MVC matches, AND matches has an extra method which will accept only a HTTP method. That means the security will be enforced based upon the HTTP method, but path will be always ignored. So it's almost equal as the AND matcher with HTTP method slash 2 asterisks. I'm not sure why Spring Security people, they want to have this extra third method, but it's very similar to whatever we are seeing in the first method. So they both look very similar like AND matches, MVC matches, but why we want them? Like why we need two different matches when they are very similar? So as we discussed, MVC matches will use Spring MVC path patterns, whereas Ant matches is an implementation of Ant style path patterns. So it is borrowed from the Apache Ant style, but the primary difference is MVC matcher is more secure than Ant matcher. Ant matcher will blindly look for the exact path that you define, whereas MVC matcher will consider all other possible ways of accessing that path. Like if you see, if I try to secure a path slash secured with AND matches, it will only perform whatever authentication configurations that I have done for slash secured only. Whereas MVC matches will consider for slash secured as well as slash secured slash secured.html or any extension. That makes sense, right, when you are using MVC based applications, because if you configure such a way that slash secured with AND matches should be authenticated and permit all others, and in such scenarios, if the user enters slash secured slash, what AND matches will do is it will permit it because it's not matching with the slash secured, which is very risky way. So for all such scenarios, we can use MVC matches, but if you're confident that these kind of mistakes are not possible inside your application, you're always free to go and use the AND matches. Beyond MVC and matches, we also have regex matches. Regex matches will provide you unlimited possibilities. Like our Java regex, they are also very similar, where you can mention complex regex matches. Like if you see the very first method, which will allow both the HTTP method and regex, I can mention people who are trying to access my application with the get method, and English language, Spanish and Chinese language, they has to be authenticated, and remaining everyone should be denied. So for such a complex requirements, we can go ahead and use the regex matches. So with this, I'm assuming you got an understanding of what are different matches available and how to use them inside our application. So in our code, for simplicity purpose, we are using AND matches with a pattern, but you can always use the restrictions based upon the HTTP methods as well. Thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.